And we've seen tons of people going and buying guns, and many of these people have never shot a gun before in their life.
Indeed, people are now, we see a lot of first-time gun buyers during this pandemic, as I'm calling it. And it's understandable because we're in times that are uncertain, they're volatile, ambiguous, and people are looking for answers. I'm Chris Dunn. I'm the CEO and founder of Covered 6. I started Covered 6 about 10 years ago. I'm prior military, law enforcement, and now in the private sector.
And I'm Bryce Eddy. I'm on the board of advisors for Covered 6, and I'm a risk consultant, an insurance broker as well, and entrepreneur.
Tell me about Covered 6. What is Covered 6?
Covered 6 is 3 different companies in one. It's kind of a holistic approach. We do a lot of training. We're big on the training side. We do exclusive services. We take people from the training and provide services, and we innovate with gear and equipment that supports the industry.
Right now in California, we've seen about 4,000 criminals be released due to this COVID-19 situation. A lot of people, especially even people who before are saying, guns are terrible, I'm a leftist, I don't like guns, are now going and actually buying guns. What is the number one safety thing that people should be doing right now in the wake of this epidemic?
Indeed, people are now, we see a lot of first-time gun buyers during this pandemic, as I'm calling it. We see a lot of people going out without any type of background, no training, obviously a very short decision and quick decision for their own self-defense. And it's understandable because we're in times that are uncertain, they're volatile, ambiguous, and people are looking for answers. I think safety is always important when you're talking about something that has deadly force involved, but there's a lot more to it. And I think if you said the number one thing about safety would be make a conscious decision to educate yourself prior to making the commitment to own a firearm.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen tons of people going and buying guns, and many of these people have never shot a gun before in their life. What's the first thing that they should do?
Basically, do your research and be careful who you're getting advice from, because, titles and trademarks don't necessarily mean that it's right for you. It might even come down to a decision that you didn't know there was alternatives. So if you basically do your research, there's plenty of things available, there's plenty of trainers, but really talk to somebody who's going to look at what you're doing and what you need. Because a lot of times when we find, once we start talking to people, the gun wasn't right for them. They were just looking for something to make them feel better, and there's a lot more other things on the market to do that.
Yeah, I was talking to a girl the other day, and she was saying, it's getting crazy out here, I'm kind of scared, and she wanted to go and buy pepper spray. Is pepper spray a good idea for people as well?
It's one of those questions that it's up to the individual. Pepper spray has obviously been used by law enforcement and security officers as a means of self-defense. It falls on a scale on a lower level. It's less lethal. However, it has its drawbacks. I mean, think about it. It's an aerosol spray generally. It is an irritant. It doesn't act very quickly. So if you're using it as self-defense, sometimes better just to run away. So you have to understand its limitations, and again, get some sort of training and make a conscious, educated decision on deploying it.
Yeah, a quick example of that is when we're training our veterans here, we'll actually go through as part of the OC spray training and spray them and have them fight and run a little obstacle course and do all that to kind of show that there's a delayed reaction to it. And so it's not always the best choice.
What would be a better choice than pepper spray usually?
The number one weapon that you have is your brain. I mean, obviously recognizing threats before they occur and being able to avoid them is huge. And so people don't spend a lot of time on that. Second would be, there's things like self-defense. I mean, if you're strong enough to drive a car, you're strong enough to defend yourself. So invest in some of that, because we want to create space. We don't want to necessarily rely on a tool to save us. It's actually going to be ourselves.
Yeah, and when we talk about it in our training courses, one of the first things that we're working on is mere presence, or situational awareness. It's kind of the start to that whole spectrum of how to defend yourself.
How do you do your own safety assessment?
Basically there's probably a checklist that you could find, but it's really easy. You just start with starting to educate yourself and look at what's the lowest level of threat that am I worried about? If it's at my home, for instance, it's intruders. It's people that are suspicious. So start there. Does my home have everything that I could possibly do prior to adding the firearm into it? Right now we have some great things, technological advances that really should be considered in an assessment, like smart cameras.
How do you safely store your gun? I mean, there's definitely horror stories out there of people with young children getting a hold of a weapon and God forbid killing themselves or something like that. How do you safely store your gun so that it's able to be used at the right time when you need it, but also not putting people in harm's way?
100% a good question, and that's one of the big kind of talking points of people who are against guns is that they're dangerous. It's actually incorrect. People are dangerous. However, yes, safe storage does give you a lot for you. Maybe you, even as a gun owner with training, make a mistake in the middle of the night, and it gives you time to have cognitive process. So there's a lot of, again, technology that makes, and I can show you later, we have a box actually that's highly advanced, biometrics, can talk to your phone, has apps, and protects your guns and keeps it in the right hands, which is the most important thing, is keeping it away from the people who shouldn't have it.
I'm going to embarrass myself here. I don't have a gun myself. I've shot guns before and done things like that, but I would be a first-time gun buyer going in and getting one. How do you know what type of gun is right for you? If you're at the point of your safety assessment, your safety training, and you feel like, okay, a gun is what I need, how do you know which type of gun is best for you?
We're going to teach you a little bit today, by the way, too.
Okay.
We'll get you going.
Okay, there you go.
You know what, and that's an interesting point. And I see it all the time as people go, well, I'm going to go get a gun, so I'm going to go to a gun dealer. And I'm not going to talk bad about gun dealers. We need them to actually process these things legally. However, think of it like a car salesman. We're going to sell you what's in stock. We're going to sell you what we believe you should have. One of the big misnomers as an example of that is women buying firearms. 1 in 4 new gun owners are women. And they go in and they're like, oh, you need a revolver because you can't handle a semi-automatic. And sure enough, they come to our class and they want a semi-automatic. So it was just one of those things where maybe do what you're doing. You go out, check it out, shoot a few guns, feel what's right for you. It's your life, it's your rules. We don't ever recommend things to people without their input. Because I really want to know, it's part of your participation. It's like me telling you, you're going to drive this type of car. You have personal preferences that you're going to like, or personal skills. And it's also availability. Some things aren't available, so a lot of factors.
How do you get proper gun safety training?
Go to a licensed professional that's vetted with referrals. Titles and trademarks, again, just because you were a former law enforcement or you're a former military or you're a gun enthusiast doesn't necessarily make you a good trainer. I mean, we look at anything we do with education always has like a component of expertise. So I would just be careful and do the research again and find somebody reputable. And remember, try different people. Training is an ongoing process, so it just doesn't end with one class. You don't go to the gym once. You got to keep working at it.
Yeah. A lot of people think, I mean, you hear this on the media and the news all the time, that you can just walk in and just buy a gun or, a gun show loophole or whatever this might be. What do you say to that? I mean, in LA County, at least, it takes you 10 days. This is a big wake-up call for a lot of people. You go in, it takes you at least 10 days to get your gun.
We got those phone calls. Oh, I need a gun quick.
Yeah.
The sky's falling.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on? Yes, there is a process.
Yeah, what is that process actually like for people who don't know?
I'm old. I might not look it, but I've been around a long time, and I remember buying my first gun when I was 10. And back then, there wasn't a lot of regulation. You could go in with your dad and you just pick out the gun, and there was no waiting period. But we really do have a lot of checks and balances in the gun world right now, in the industry and selling firearms. I'm actually a licensed FFL. You have to do a background check. You can't just walk in and purchase a gun. You have to wait 10 days. You have to, have a clean background. No addictions. No psychological record. I think the only thing that is lacking is how we have that database and how we access people who have mental illness, especially with active shooter. We've seen over and over there's either some medical issue that was preventing information being shared, but realistically, there are a lot of checks and balances in place. Most people who use guns illegally are people who got them illegally. The rules, most people abide by the rules, and they actually gun ownership is pretty legal when you look at it, unless you're a criminal.
Yeah, I heard that concealed carry permit holders they commit less crimes than police officers on average, which is an amazing thing. It shows that when you actually get really proper gun safety training, you are more responsible than some of the most responsible people.
Yes, 100%. We've seen that because we train in our county for the CCW, and there has been no incidents of malfeasance and neglect.
Yeah, or negligence.
It's been very low. And I can equate that to people who actually purchase firearms and take the time to get a CCW actually are professionals more than anything, and they're pretty responsible in their life already. So they're not going to just go out and get a gun and start packing and start running around.
Well, and there's a lot of effort that goes into it. There's a process, regular renewals, continuous background checks because of that. So, I mean, it's a process that really is also designed to weed out, malfeasance.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about technology, new technology that we're seeing that just improves home safety or, self-safety by tenfold of what it used to be. What are some of those developments, and what should people look at acquiring for that?
There's a number of them, but I will just narrow it down to one that is so significant that's changed the entire threatscape when it comes to both enterprise, commercial business, and home. And that's the analytics, smart cameras. Because before it was, you had a camera system, you're like, yeah, I'm secure. But all it did was, yep, you got two guys in ski mask and they broke in the house.
It's just forensics after the fact.
Forensics.
Oh, there you go.
And now
You got robbed.
Yeah.
And now we can literally get alert in time, and we can set up geofencing. And this is all in packages that you could buy at a store. And those things are actually changing the game because awareness and knowing that things are happening. You might not even be at your house. You were alerted that someone was casing, and now you know that you got to step it up. And you have a description, so maybe you see them. So I would say number one is the smart, I don't want to call it artificial intelligence because it's kind of a separate thing, but it is almost like it's a smart camera.
And we were talking before the interview started about data and data hacking from China, things like that. How do we stop that?
In order to I'll answer that in a second, but there's a bigger part of that people have to understand. Real security and personal safety is encompassing a lot of things. And I'll say there are three legs to it. You already mentioned one, the technology and the way that you leverage that at your house, your phone. Everyone has a computer in their pocket now. So that technology of using those types of things to secure yourself. One is and the other one is physical. That's obvious. Everyone right now, if you buy a gun, is for physical safety. And then three is your cyber, which doesn't have a lot to do. People mix technology. Cyber and information security is people getting you on the internet, people being able to access you without even coming to your house, and your bank accounts, and your money. So right now, we're facing a very large threat. It's not unknown because military experts, people in the private sector have been talking about the cyber.
It was all forecasted.
Pearl Harbor that's coming. And so I think people need to pay attention to that as well, as this is going to be, what's bad if you can't even go to your bank account and all your money's gone or being held at ransomware right now. It's happening so much we can't even keep up as a company.
How does someone protect their cybersecurity? I mean, what's the best thing that they should do?
Right now, if you have a lot of data or things that you're trying to keep, is migrating to the cloud. I'll just give you a free tip. I mean, Google and Microsoft have done very well at cornering that business, but now there's going to be a lot of other offerings because there really needs to be competition in that. You can't secure your network unless you have cybersecurity people on deck, and we don't have that in our personal life. So it's just like going back to the house. Do the research. How much data can you lose? Where are you placing it? If it's really important, is it on a cloud storage? Is it on some CD or some drive? I'm dating myself with CD. Some USB at your house and are on a drive, and people think, oh, it's safe, but then the drive gets stolen or something happens. It's literally, again, educating yourself and then taking active steps to prevent what is inevitable now. We even got penetrated the other day, and luckily we caught it. Because it's not going to be a matter of if, it's going to be a matter of when. With firearms, our primary topic today, it's a matter of if. If someone breaks in your house, and I might have to confront them, 99% of the time you won't, but it's a matter of when with cybersecurity. We know that everyone is going to get a breach at some point because it's automated. Most of it's done by robots that are, bots that are checking your information in your network constantly until they get in and someone answers an email and then they own you. Ransomware.
At PragerU, I've been asking this to we've been interviewing doctors and experts and all sorts of people about issues that go down with coronavirus right now and what people should be worried about and real information that they can use in their lives. What would be the one thing that you would want people to know about, to hear the truth about that they're probably not hearing anywhere else?
That's a good question. I think for me, you really can't access the information. I have access to, I've had government friends tell me things. In this case, I'd say it's very unique. And in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like this because the information isn't even available. I almost feel like we really don't know with this one because why did we shut down the whole entire economy? But it goes back to what I would say is overarching and all-encompassing, and that's self-reliance. Right now, one thing that's proven by COVID is it's just another incident like fires in California and crime on the rise and letting out criminals. Active shooter, for a long time, that's been the buzzword with the crisis that we're dealing with, and now it's kind of gone away, but it's still happening, is that you need to take care of yourself. So if it has to do with a pandemic, and you need to have, keeping your immunity up, getting ready with masks and preparing yourself to wash your hands more. I mean, these are all things just like with earthquake preparedness, just with buying a firearm. We have to know that dialing 911 is not as effective. I'm not saying anything about law enforcement first responders because they are still a very important part of our plan. But we're going to be on our own. We're going to be on our own. We're showing that now with food and going home. And I had to cut my own hair recently. I mean, you're going to have self-reliance and know that we're going to have these disruptions in our lives. So that's what I want people to know, is to feel better that this is okay. This is just the new normal, being disrupted.
Yeah, I think that's the real key is, self-reliance, doing these things that are important beforehand. Everybody rushes out in a great panic and buys toilet paper, thinks that they need guns, all of that stuff. That should all be something that you are, not living in fear about on a regular basis, but making sure that you've got what you need for your family ready to go in the case that something happens, even if it's an earthquake. We're here in California, earthquake country. Don't wait until afterwards I should have, had things ready to go.
And to me, it seems like a lot of people are waking up to this and believing more in self-reliance because of this whole situation. They feel like they can't trust the government at all. So they buy a firearm or do safety training in any way because they don't trust what the government's going to do.
We've had unprecedented prosperity in this country for so long, and really relative peace in the neighborhoods that we live in and everything else. And this is really exposing how fragile our civilization really is, just a layer or two deep. And I think that it's a good sobering reminder of what we need to do with personal responsibility and who we are and how we take care of our families, our neighbors, our friends.
I don't think the pioneers ever picked up a phone and called anybody when they needed help. We have to kind of go back to that mentality that it's okay to take care of yourself. And I don't think I answered your question 100%. I want to know if it's man-made or not. That would be my number one thing. If you're asking for a tidbit of information, I want to be in that room. I want to be a fly on the wall to find out why this is so scary. Why all of a sudden in our lifetime, when we've had a bunch of pandemics, that this one, COVID-19, is so deadly, supposedly. And I'm not saying it's not. I don't want to ever have a victim that I'm armchair quarterbacking the world because I'm stuck in kind of a quarantine myself. But I would like to know that, because that makes a difference if this was something that was out of control and there's a reason why. But again, you got to be careful of the panic. Imagine if you did tell the truth. Most people in America right now don't want to know the truth. We want to know our schedule at Costco and get our new iPhone. I mean, really, if you look at it, we've lost a lot of the things that keep us frosty and Americans and staying ready. We're just looking for the next thing to be rolled out from a big company.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, part of the underlying message to our kind of preparation programs and the things that we're doing when we're teaching, physical defense and all of that is we are all first responders. And we talk about it in the context of if something does happen at your house and you have to defend yourself or your family, or even if it's out on the street, you have a very short window of time in which you need to do what you're going to do, and you're going to wait a very long time, 10 minutes plus maybe, to actually have the police respond to your needs. And so we have to have that mentality of we are all first responders.
In terms of, well, we can end it on this, is that we've been talking to all these different people, and a lot of the things that I'm getting from this is that it's somewhat an American success story, the coronavirus, with people, not the deaths and things obviously, but people coming together to reach a common goal,
sure.
Whether it's safety or medicine or the economy, companies working together. How are you seeing this as a sort of American success story as well?
There are so many positive things coming out of this that it's hard to mention, but just in general quality of life. Even for myself, because I was asked by a reporter the other day, how is COVID impacting you and why is it different? And I said, well, it's different because when there's crisis, we get phone calls and we send people and we are prepared. But when it's affecting you simultaneously, when we have soldiers jumping off ships and disobeying orders on an aircraft carrier, we've got something unprecedented. I hate using that word because everyone says that, but it is. It's something we don't have a playbook for. So I've seen a lot of positive things, though. On the side, you're like, wow, families are actually walking together. I see nothing but families walking together. I see them coming in. How was your weekend? Oh, I spent time with my kids. We're reinventing this. We're starting to read together. And to me, one of the lost things, not to digress, but is the family unit, morals and values. And I know you guys talk about that a lot, but that really comes back to the core is even my children. I never lived through a pandemic like this. I don't want to call it a pandemic, but I've never lived through that. They have. So if they're getting anything, it's a fantastic education in the family unit and core values and how to respond appropriately. And I'm educating them. I give them the same information I'm telling you.
Well, we all have to be homeschoolers now too.
Yeah.
Which we already homeschooled our family, but it's interesting because I've got a lot of people reaching out to me, knowing that I'm a proponent of that, and talking about how, wow, okay, I didn't realize what you could actually get done in such a short period of time, and have time left over to, spend time with your kids and work through that process. And I think it's actually exposing, some of the issues with even, the public school education.
Yeah. Well, they can just sit at home and watch PragerU videos all day.
That's right.
And that's all it takes for an
girls
education. I appreciate you guys so much for doing this interview with me.
Appreciate it.
And we shake hands here, okay?
Yeah,
We're not
we love
scared.
it. Yeah, keep our immune system strong.
Exactly, herd immunity.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you like this video, make sure you comment your thoughts down below, share with your friends. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for watching this video. PragerU is a 501c3 organization. Help us keep our videos free by making a tax-deductible donation today. I'd really appreciate your support.